Hi, good afternoon. These notes are on outliers. An outlier is a value that is much lower or much higher than the other values in the data set. When an outlier is included in the data set, it can affect the measures of center. So let's take a look at our problems below. So how does an outlier affect the mean, median, and mode of the data? So here's 8 pairs of shoes. We've got $20, 48, 20, 37, 45, 31, 20, 122. So this 122 is catching my eye because it's way larger than the rest of the data. So we're going to identify the outlier as being $122. Then we're going to find the mean, median, and mode without the outlier. And then we're going to see what effects happen to the outlier and then which one is affected by the outlier the most. All right. So finding the mean, what you do is you add all your items together. So I added all 8 of these pairs of shoes. I got 343. And then I divided by 8 because there were 8 pairs of shoes, and I got an average of $42.88. Then without the outlier, I got a total of 221, and I divided it by 7 because now I took that pair of shoes out, so now there's only 7 shoes. So 221 divided by 7 gives me an average of $31.57. So since the outlier was higher, it brought the mean up. Next is the median. The median is the middle number. So I went ahead and put my numbers all in order from least to greatest. And then I kind of did like my little chop chop suey. So I kept going into the middle. And then I saw that it was going to be between 31 and 37. So I found their average. So I added 31 plus 37 and divided by 2 and got 34. So 34 was the median. Then when I took the outlier away, I then found the median between the 7 sets of data. And I found that it was 31. So since the outlier was higher, it did bring the median up. And then the last one, I put them in order from least to greatest, and I found a number that happened the most, and it was the mode, which was 20. And then when I took the outlier away, I still had the same mode of 20. So the outlier did not change the mode. The next problem that we have is the time in minutes it takes for 6 students to travel to school. So an outlier that I'm noticing, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 10, 15, 20, 45, that 45 is probably the outlier. And I'm going to guess which measure does it affect the most. I'm going to guess that it's going to affect the mean the most. Then what we're going to do is we're going to fill in our information, and I'll do this with you. So with the outlier, 8 plus 10 plus 10 plus 15 plus 20 plus 45 gives me a total of 108 minutes. And then 108 divided by 6 gives me an average of 18 minutes. And then without the outlier, so 8 plus 10 plus 10 plus 15 plus 20 gives me a total of 63. But this time now I only have 5 sets of data, and 63 divided by 5 gives me a total of 12.6 minutes. The median when these are already in order, the median when the outlier is included is going to be between 10 and 15. So 10 plus 15 is 25. Divide that by 2 gives me 12.5. So 12.5 is right in the middle. So 12.5 with the outlier is the median. If I take the 45 out, well, my middle number between these 5 sets of data is this 10 right here. So then I get 10 for my median. And then my mode is the number that happens the most, which is 10. And then if I take the 45 out, the number that happens the most is still 10. Okay, so we did notice that the mean definitely was affected. It was a difference of almost 6 minutes, and this was a difference of about 2.5 minutes, and this was no difference. All right, on the inside, now we're going to do some more problems together. The table below, and I'm going to do number 1 with you, and you're going to do numbers 2 and 3 on your own. The table below shows the average lifespans of some animals. The outlier that I'm noticing is the Galapagos tortoise, and he lives for 200 years, where a majority of these live between 20 to 70 years. So outlier name is the tortoise. And the outlier value is 200. And then we're going to figure out the mean with the 200, and then the mean without the 200, the median with, and the median without, and then the mode. I went ahead and put my numbers in order down here just to make it a little faster for me, and then we're going to answer some questions down here. So with the mean, I'm going to add my numbers together. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use my list down here. So 20 plus 30 plus 30 plus 35 plus 50 plus 70 plus 200 gives me 435. So 435, and there's 7 items divided by 7. So 435 divided by 7 gives me about 62 point, we'll go to the tenths, 62.1 years. Then if I take the outlier out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this total 435 and subtract the 200 because I'm going to take the 200 out. Whoops, almost times it. 235 is now my new total. So 235. And then this time, since I took that out, now I only have 6 pieces of data, so 235 divided by 6 gives me 39.2 years. All right, now the median with the tortoise involved, well, I'm going to kind of chop, 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 and 35 is my middle number, so that's with the outlier. Now if I don't include the outlier, chop, 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 so it's between 30 and 35, so I'm going to find the average between 30 and 35, so 30 plus 35 divided by 2 gives me 32.5. And then my mode is the number that happened the most. And when I look at my data, it looks like 30 happened twice and nobody else did. And then when I take that out, it's still 30. So which measure does the outlier affect the most? It affects the mean the most. Which measure of central tendency best describes the data? Well, since the mean is being affected so much by the tortoise, I feel like it's this is not a good representation of the average age lifespan of these animals because the tortoise is pulling that mean so high. So I feel like the median is actually a better representation. So the median is a better representation of our data. Explain why. Median is not as affected by the outlier as the mean. So the mean is way more affected, so we don't want to use that because what the outlier is doing is it's skewing the data. It's changing the data so much. So we want to use the median because the median is not as affected tremendously as the mean is. All right. Now we've got this map of Central America, and these are approximate land areas that can be farmed in Central American countries. And this tells you how wide the area is. So I went ahead and put these square miles in order from least to greatest. So 200, 1200, 2100, 2200, 4500, 5000, 6500. So my outlier name, well, it looks like most of these are in the thousands, and it looks like the 200 is going to be probably the outlier because it looks like it's not as much as the rest of these. So 200 is Belize. So outliers can be lower. Remember we said that at the beginning of our notes, an outlier can be lower or higher, but it just doesn't fit with the rest of the data. So let's go ahead and figure out the outlier with the 200, and then let's figure out the mean with the outlier, and then let's figure out the mean without the outlier. So let's go ahead and add all of our items together. So 200 plus 1200 plus 2100 plus 2200 plus 4500 plus 5000 plus 6500. That gives me 21,700. And there's 7 items, so divide by 7. And so when I divide that by 7, an average of 3,100. Okay? And then what we can do is we can take that 21,700, subtract the 200 that we that we don't want to use because that's an outlier. So we get 21,500. We're going to divide that by 6 because we have one less item to use. So we get 3,583 and then 1/3. So we're just going to round that to 3. So 3,583.3. The median is the middle number, so chop, 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 suey. There we go. So 2,200. And if we take that out, then our middle number is going to be between 2,200 and 4,500. So 2,200 plus 4,500, and then divide that by 2, and we get 3,350. 3,350. And then the mode, it looks like there is no mode because no number happens more than once, so not applicable. All right, so this time, which measure of center above does the outlier affect the most? So it actually looks like it affects the median the most this time. Typically that's not going to happen, but it does. So this one looks like a bigger jump here, so it affects the median the most. Which measure of central tendency best describes the data here? It actually would be the mean. The mean would be better because it's not as affected as the median is. All right, so now you're going to do number 3, and then the other questions that I want you to answer are over here. There's 10 questions that need to deal with this one problem. Make sure that you answer everything. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please write at the bottom of the video or come into class tomorrow with them. All right, I hope you guys have a great afternoon, and I'll see you tomorrow.